Hello, students. Okay, so we are going to start reading Act 1 of The Taming of the Shrew. Okay, so remember last week whenever we were reading the induction, that had Chris Sly in it. He is a drunk beggar, and the Lord thinks it's hilarious to put him up in like the Lord's room and to let him wake up from his drunken stupor and to tell him that he's a Lord and that he has all these people at his disposal. He has a wife, he has all this food, all these awesome things. And so when Chris Sly wakes up, like he's really, he knows who he is, he's a drunk. But eventually, after hearing he has a wife, he thinks, well, maybe I'm a Lord, and, wants to see his wife. Of course, we have this boy dressed up, Bartholomew, who's dressed up like the wife, and Chris is trying to, yank his wife into bed, and that's not, she's like, whoa, or he, rather, Bartholomew, is like, you're sick, we better wait. So they end up watching this play instead. Now we're going to get into with Act 1, actually Acts 1 through 5, is the play, The Taming of the Shrew. So the induction was everything leading up to this point. Now we're getting to the real story. But we already have introduced the theme, one of the biggest themes of The Taming of the Shrew, which is the difference between appearances and reality, and that those two things are not always the same. Okay, so that's really a big thought and a big idea in this entire play. Okay, we're going to have a lot of people dressing up like other people. We're going to have a lot of people going by different names. It might get confusing. I will try to keep us posted and make sure that we are well informed. Okay, so once again, get to the website, the shakespeare.folger.edu website. On that website, you go ahead and click on like the read button. Then you scroll down, you find Taming of the Shrew, you say you want to read it, and then you scroll through until you get to Act 1, okay? Then you should be able to read it with me, okay? So once you get to Act 1, Scene 1, in my book, of course the book that you have, if you can ever pick it up at the high school, these books are there. It gives us a little synopsis. So remember, it tells us ahead of time what's going to happen. So there's a guy coming into town, his name is Hortensio. He's come with his servant Tranio to Padua. We are in the city of Padua, Italy, to study philosophy. Now, as they enter Padua, the town, they witness an encounter between Baptista and his two daughters. Baptista has two daughters. I want you to kind of get a load of this. The older girl, her name is Catherine. Sometimes he calls her Katerina. Sometimes she's called Kat. But she doesn't seem nice. Like, people don't necessarily think of her as friendly, specifically. In contrast, the younger daughter, so Catherine is the eldest, the younger daughter of Baptista is named Bianca. And she is everything wonderful. She is the perfect daughter. If you could see a picture of a perfect daughter, she is it. Sound like anybody you know, maybe? I don't know. I think both of my daughters might be more like Catherine, but it's fine. So, and probably me too. It's fine. Anyway, so we have this kind of like scary woman, Catherine, and then Bianca, the perfect girl. So Hortensio sees Bianca and he's instantly smitten by her beauty. Wow, he is ridiculously weak. And all these other men are talking about how great Bianca is and that they'd like to marry Bianca. And the dad, Baptista, is like, nobody can marry Bianca until Catherine finds a beau. Until Catherine has a husband, nobody's going to be able to even date Bianca, okay? Now, by the way, if this sounds at all like a movie you may have seen called 10 Things I Hate About You, that is actually this play. So, yes, if you've seen that movie, that plot line is The Taming of the Shrew. Haha, nice. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hit play so you can hear it. Remember, this is my purchased copy of the play from Audible. I purchased it myself, so that is what I am allowing you to hear as you read the free copy that you find on Folger Shakespeare. Of course, you have the book at school. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start this, and we will listen together, okay? And I'll pause occasionally and talk about things because this act gets crazy. Okay. Sweet tunes. awesome.
Tranio, since for the great desire I had to see fair Padua, nursery of arts, I am arrived in fruitful Lombardy, the pleasant garden of great Italy, and by my father's love and leave am armed with his good will and thy good company. My trusty servant, well approved in all. Here let us breathe, and happily institute a course of learning and ingenious studies. Pisa, renowned for grave citizens, gave me my being, and my father first, a merchant of great traffic through the world, Vincentio, come of the Bentivogli. Vincentio's son, brought up in Florence, it shall become to serve all hopes conceived, to deck his fortune with his virtuous deeds. And therefore, Tranio, for the time I study virtue, and that part of philosophy will I apply that treats of happiness by virtue specially to be achieved. Tell me thy mind, for I have Pisa left, and am to Padua come, as he that leaves a shallow plash to plunge him in the deep, and with satiety seeks to quench his thirst.
Let's pause. Okay, so Lucentio is talking a lot. He and Tranio, his servant, have just entered Padua. Now, he's a young guy. He's actually in university right now. He's been studying a lot. He's kind of taking a break in Padua, that sounds kind of like a cool thing to do. And so he is there, and he's thinking he's going to be studying things like virtue and philosophy. He's going to be resting and relaxing. He's not really up for, he's going to take a little bit of a break here in Padua and just kind of enjoy himself a little bit. That's what he's talking about. And he's talking to his good friend, servant, Tranio. Now, he does treat this servant is kind of a buddy of his, okay? Yes, he is technically a servant, but he talks to him about everything, kind of, thinks of him as just this guy that he trusts and he thinks is awesome. So he's asking him, hey, what should we do first in this new town that we're exploring? Here's Tranio's idea.
Me, Perdinato, gentle master mine, I am in all affected as yourself, glad that you thus continue your resolve to suck the sweets of sweet philosophy. Only, good master, that while we do admire this virtue and this moral discipline, there's be no Stoics nor no stocks, I pray. Or so devote to Aristotle's checks as Ovid be an outcast quite abjured. Balk logic with acquaintance that you have, and practice rhetoric in your common talk, music and poesy used to quicken ya, the mathematics and metaphysic falterdom as you find your stomach serves ya. No profit grows where is no pleasure ta'en. In brief, sir, study what you most affect.
Grand mercies, Tranio, well dost thou advise. If Biondello now were come ashore, we could at once put us in readiness and take a lodging fit to entertain such friends as time in Padua shall beget.
Okay, so Tranio's a big fan of, hey, buddy, we just need to rest and relax. We don't need to be all work and no play. That is what makes us boring and sad. And so he says, hey, we need to have fun while we're here in Padua. And Lucentio says, great advice, Tranio. Big fan. Awesome. We're going to see what Padua brings to us. Well, speak of the devil, right now a huge crowd of people come out. We have Baptista. I already told you about him. He's got 2 beautiful daughters. Remember, one is older and she seems a bit angry, a lot of angry. And the second one is sweet and perfect and says all of the right things all of the time. Isn't that just wonderful? Okay, let's see them.
Stay a while.
Master, some show to welcome us to town.
Gentlemen, importune me no further, for how I firmly am resolved you know, that is, not to bestow my youngest daughter before I have a husband for the elder. If either of you both love Katharina, because I know you well and love you well, leave shall you have to court her at your pleasure.
To carve her, rather. She's too rough for me. There, Hortensio, will you any wife?
I pray you, sir, is it your will to make a scale of me amongst these mates?
Mates, maid? How mean you that? No mates for you, and unless you were of gentler, milder mold.
I' faith, sir, you shall never need to fear. It is not halfway to her heart, but if it were, doubt not her care should be to comb your noddle with a 3-legged stool, and paint your face and use you like a fool.
From all such devils, good Lord, deliver us.
And me too,
Oh, good lord. Hush, master, there is some good pastime towards. That wench is stark mad and wonderful froward.
But in the other silence do I see maids' mild behavior and sobriety. Beast drive.
Well said, master. Up, engage you, Phil.
Okay, let's pause for a second because there's a lot here. Okay, so Baptista's daughters come out, and again, Baptista has these two men who are with him. Their names are Gremio. You're going to need to notice the spelling, Gremio with an E. Gremio is this old guy. He's actually a kind of a stock character that Shakespeare uses called a pantaloon. He would be an old man, basically some guy in like his 60s, maybe older, oh my gosh, who never quite got married. Oopsie, but he probably has an estate. He has money. He needs an heir. So he's looking at the young girls to see who he can get for a wife. That's kind of one of Shakespeare's stock characters. That's Gremio. He's a little icky. Okay, and then we have Hortensio. Hortensio is just kind of your normal guy, your normal, probably mid late 20s guy who's, you know, a man about town. He's probably studied at university. He's come back. He's probably head of his own household. He does his own accounts and things. He's a grown-up, and he too is looking for a wife. And so Hortensio and Gremio both are interested in marrying Bianca, the young, beautiful, perfect daughter of Baptista. Isn't that just great? Well, Baptista says, I am not going to bestow my youngest daughter before I have a husband for the elder. If either of you want Catherine, well, let me know, because, like, for sure, like, if you love her, well, then you can court her at your pleasure. No problem. These two guys, at the mention of courting Catherine, they kind of freak out a little bit. Gremio, our old guy, our pantaloon, he's like, whoa, 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 she's too rough for me. He says, Hortensio, you want to take that on? Because that's scary stuff. And Catherine says, Catherine's offended. She's like, you're talking about me like I am a stool. You're talking about me like I'm a piece of furniture. I'm right here. If you think somebody should marry me, talk to me. If you think they want to marry me, they should talk to me. Don't talk about me like I'm not even standing here. What in the world are you doing? Dad, men, ridiculous. This is all ridiculous. She says, Dad, do you plan to make a stale of me amongst these mates? Are you going to embarrass me by saying this stuff right in front of me, Dad? This is terrible. Hortensio says, mates, maid. How mean you that? No mates for you unless you were gentler and milder mold. So Hortensio says, Catherine, you're not going to find a husband unless you are a little gentle, more gentle-spirited. Well, that is his opinion. Maybe he's scared of the very scary woman who seems angry. But to say that she's never going to find a husband unless she, acts fake and becomes really nice is kind of silly, I think. Catherine's like, don't worry, I'm not looking for you, buddy. Back away. You can leave. Not interested. Hortensio calls her a devil. He says, from all such devils, good Lord, deliver us. And Gremio's like, yeah, me too, God, please deliver us from these devils. Now, in the midst of this, we still have Tranio and Lucentio, who are on the side of this scene. They've been watching it with rapt attention. Tranio says, now he's watching Catherine, and he's like, whoo, look at her. He says, the wench is stark mad or wonderfully forward. One of those. So she's either crazy or she's interesting. I'm not sure, but she's kind of fun. She seems fun. Lucentio isn't even looking. Like, he's looking over straight at Bianca. And Lucentio says, but in the other silence do I see maid's mild behavior and sobriety. Oh, Bianca is so beautiful and perfect. And Tranio's like, keep looking, buddy, keep looking. Okay, let's continue.
Gentlemen, That I may soon make good what I have said, Bianca, get you in. And let it not displease thee, good Bianca, for I will love thee nevertheless, my girl.
Oh, a pretty Pete. It is best put finger in the eye, and she knew why.
Sister, content you in my discontent. So to your pleasure humbly I subscribe. My books and instruments shall be my company. On them to look and practice by myself.
Hark, Tranio, thou mayst hear Minerva speak.
Signor Baptista, will you be so strange? Sorry am I that our goodwill affects Bianca's grief.
Why will you mew her up, Signor Baptista, for this fiend of hell? Will make her bear the penance of her tongue?
Gentlemen, content ye, I am resolved. Go in, Bianca. And for I know she taketh most delight in music, instruments, and poetry, schoolmasters will I keep within my house, fit to instruct her youth. If you, Hortensio, or Signor Gremio, you know any such, prefer them hither. For to cunning men I will be very kind, and liberal to mine own children in good bringing up. And so farewell. Katharina, you may stay, for I have more to commune with Bianca.
Why? And I trust I may go too, may I not? What, shall I be appointed as though belike I knew not what to take and what to leave?
Okay, so let's pause for a second and talk about this. So Baptista says he's pretty firmly resolved. They need to, if they are interested in getting married to any of his daughters, it has to be Catherine first, period. He says, I'm not going to give my youngest daughter marriage before my eldest is married. Now, I think it's entirely possible, no, let's say probable. Baptista wants Catherine off his hands. He finds her difficult as well. And so he wants some man to come take Catherine away from his home, and then he will be happy to find a husband for Bianca, no problem. But he needs Catherine to be out of his house. He needs that. Okay. And so, Catherine, he says, in his words, he kind of offends Catherine. He says, gentlemen, he says, Bianca, get you in, and let it not displease thee, good Bianca, for I will love thee nevertheless, my girl. So don't be upset, Bianca, even though you can't get married right now. And Catherine says, a pretty Pete, it is best put finger in the eye if she knew why. Like, Catherine is mocking her younger sister. Catherine doesn't get along with her younger sister. Probably because, now if you guys have siblings, you know kind of the sibling rules. You always have somebody who is completely aware of the surroundings and they're watching for the parents, right? And what they do is they poke or prod or they say something really terrible right as the parents are coming up on the scene, but they do it in such a fashion, and then they're sitting there perfectly and they're like, what? I didn't do anything. And then you maybe are the one that's a little more temperamental. And you're like trying to like punch them in the face because they just said something terrible. And then you get in trouble with the parents. Like, there's always that sibling who's like little perfect, who's like, what? So-and-so did that and I would never. And oh my gosh, I'm so great. And so that's Bianca. And Catherine is the one who always gets caught. She's evidently never paying attention to when Baptista's walking in. So Bianca's always like, Catherine, I hate your guts, die. And then she's like, what, Dad? Hi, how are you? Right at the point that Catherine is trying to mess her up because she just said terrible things to her. So Baptista thinks Catherine's terrible, but he thinks Bianca's nice. He's wrong. Okay. Bianca says she has an audience. There are all these men looking around and she's so pretty and perfect. She says, sister, content you in my discontent. Oh, it's so hard to be your sister. Sir, to your pleasure, Dad, to your pleasure, humbly, I subscribe. She says, my books and my instruments will be my company, on them to look and practice by myself. Yes, Dad, I'll do whatever you say, no problem, because I'm perfect. And Lucentio, who's watching, remember Tranio and Lucentio are sitting over here. Lucentio's like, oh, Tranio, thou mayest hear Minerva speak. She's like Athena herself. Remember, Minerva's the Roman name for the goddess Athena. She's speaking wisdom like Athena herself. Oh, she's so beautiful. Hortensio's like, Baptista, what are you doing, buddy? This isn't smart. And Gremio's like, oh, you're gonna keep Bianca she's gonna be imprisoned until you get somebody to marry Catherine? Nobody's doing that, dude. Are you crazy? And then Baptista's like, nope, that's what I've decided, that's what's happening. And so he tells Bianca to go on in. And then he says, the only men who are welcome in my house are instructors. So tutors or somebody who can instruct in a musical instrument. Interesting. And he says, Catherine, you can stay out here if you want, because he cares for Bianca and he wants to protect her. But Catherine, she doesn't need protecting. She'll rip anybody to shreds who tries to mess with her, right? So he goes on in, and then Catherine's like, stay out here with these guys? I don't care about them. She leaves too. Okay, so they've all gone in. Let's see how the conversation continues with the men about the two women.
You may go to the devil's dam. Your gifts are so good, here's none will hold you. Their love is not so great, Hortensio, but we may blow our nails together and fast it fairly out. Our cakes go on both sides. Farewell. Yet for the love I bear my sweet Bianca, if I can by any means light on a fit man to teach her that wherein she delights, I will wish him to her father.
So will I, Signor Gremio. But a word, I pray. Though the nature of our quarrel yet never brooked parle, know now upon advice it toucheth us both, that we may yet again have access to our fair mistress, and be happy rivals in Bianca's love, to labour and effect one thing special.
What's that, I pray?
Marry, sir, to get a husband for her sister.
A husband? A devil?
Oh, I say husband.
I say a devil. Thinkst thou, Hortensio, though her father be very rich, any man is so very a fool to be married to hell?
It does, Gremio. Though it pass your patience and mine to endure her loud alarums, why, man, there be good fellows in the world, and a man could light on them. Would take her with all her faults and money enough.
I cannot tell. But I had as lief take her dowry with this condition, to be whipped at the high cross every morning.
Faith, as you say, there's small choice in rotten apples. But come, since this bar-in-law makes us friends, it shall be so far forth friendly maintained, till, by helping Baptista's eldest daughter to a husband, we set his youngest free for a husband, and then have to it fresh. Sweet Bianca, happy man be his dole. He that runs fastest gets the ring. How say you, Signor Gremio?
I am agreed. And would I had given him the best horse in Padua to begin his wooing, that would thoroughly woo her, wed her, and bed her, and rid the house of her. Come on.
Okay, so Gremio and Hortensio talk about this. They basically, Gremio's like, hey buddy, we ought to work together, okay? We probably, like, yeah, we both want Bianca right now, but right now neither of us is getting Bianca until we figure out some man to marry Catherine. So we should work together on this. And Hortensio's like, yeah, that's a solid idea. I'll agree to that. So let's find a husband for Catherine. Now we get a lot of like, Gremio's like, a husband, a devil. I mean, he's gonna have to be a devil if he's gonna marry Catherine, you know what I'm saying? And he says, how do we find a man? You know, even though Hortensio, even though her dad is rich, so Baptista's got a ton of money, even though he's rich, is there any man so very a fool to be married to hell? And Hortensio's like, we'll find somebody. Surely there's somebody out there who needs money enough that they're willing to marry, yes, hell. And so they're like, all right, let's shake on it. We will find a husband for Catherine. They walk away. Okay, now we have Tranio and Lucentio. They've heard this entire exchange. Let's see what they have to say.
Pray, sir, tell me, is it possible that love should of a sudden take such hold?
Oh, Tranio. Till I found it to be true, I never thought it possible or likely. But see, while idly I stood looking on, I found the effect of love in idleness, and now in plainness do confess to thee, that art to me as secret and as dear as Anna to the Queen of Carthage was. Tranio, I burn, I pine, I perish, Tranio, if I achieve not this young, modest girl. Counsel me, Tranio, for I know thou canst. Assist me, Tranio, for I know thou wilt.
Master, it is no time to chide you now. Affection is not rated from the art. If love hath touched you, naught remains but so. Redime te captum quam queas minimo.
Gramercy's lad. Go forward. This contents. The rest will comfort, for thy counsel's sound.
Master, you look so lonely on the maid. Perhaps you mark not what's the pith of all?
Oh,
Let me pause it for just a second. I really should have paused it in that really sweet musical interlude, but I didn't know it was happening. Oops. Okay, so Tranio says, Master, Lucentio, what do you think of all this stuff? Lucentio is smitten. He has officially fallen in love, according to him anyway. He says, Tranio, I burn, I pine, I perish. If I achieve not this young, modest girl, counsel me, how can I get her? So he is entirely in love with Bianca. Now, let's pause for just a second and think about this. Does he know anything about her character? Does he know anything about her personality? Nope. Does he know anything about her likes, her dislikes? Does he know really anything about her at all? How could he possibly be in love? What does he know about her? Yeah, maybe that's the direction we should go. He knows she's so beautiful. Oh my gosh, she is just stunningly gorgeous. So do we think that the emotion he is feeling right now is love? That is my question. Is he madly in love with her as of right now? No, he has no idea who she is. He doesn't know the person Bianca. She's pretty. That's all he knows. Shallow. Idiotic. Okay, let's continue.
yes. I saw sweet beauty in her face, such as the daughter of Agenor had, that made great Jove to humble him to her hand, when with his knees he kissed the Cretan strand.
I saw you no more. Marked you not how her sister began to scold and raise up such a storm that mortal ears might hardly endure the din?
Farnio, I saw her coral lips to move, and with her breath she did perfume the air. Sacred and sweet was all I saw in her.
Nay then, 'tis time to stir him from his trance. I pray, awake, sir! If you love the maid, bend thoughts and wits to achieve her. Thus it stands. Her elder sister is so cursed and shrewd that till the father rid his hands of her, master, your love must live a maid at home, and therefore has he closely mewed her up because she will not be annoyed with suitors.
Ah, Tranio, what a cruel father's he! But art thou not advised he took some care to get her cunning schoolmasters to instruct her?
Aye, marry am I, sir? And now 'tis plotted.
I have it, Tranio.
Master, for me hand, both our inventions meet and jump in one.
Tell me thine first.
You will be schoolmaster and undertake the teaching of the maid. That's your device.
It is. May it be done?
Ah, not possible. For who shall bear your part? And be in Padua here, Vincentio's son. Keep house and ply his book, welcome his friends, visit his countrymen and banquet them.
Okay, so let's pause for a second. So first of all, how do you think Tranio is dealing with his master's infatuation of Bianca? If we look at what he's saying, I mean, he keeps kind of like, he's like, Master, come out of your trance. What are you doing? If you love her, you've got to figure out, and he's like, if you love her, because like he doesn't think it's love either, you have to figure out how to get her elder sister married, because nothing's going to work out until that happens. And then Lucentio's like, oh, this is so cruel. This is awful. And then they both kind of come to the idea about the same time about the instructors, the tutors. Baptista is letting a type of gentleman into his home. So Tranio says, well, of course, you just need to act like you are a tutor for her. That'd be great. And then he's like, oh, yeah, but then who's going to act like you, Vincentio's son, newly in Padua? Like, nobody can do that. Like, that's not, and we need somebody to be kind of offering for her hand while you're doing the part of the tutor. What could we possibly do?
Basta, content thee, for I have it full. We have not yet been seen in any house, nor can we be distinguished by our faces for man or master. Then it follows thus. Thou shalt be master Trani in my stead. Keep house and port and servants as I should.
I wonder why it stopped. That's weird. Okay. I'm going to pause right now because I need to figure out what's happening with my computer, but I'll start back in just a minute, okay? Okay, see ya.